Lloyd Anderson had survived 3 stints as a plumber on frontier colonies, 2 divorces, and a battle with food poisoning from questionable station sushi. But nothing had prepared him for being trapped in an elevator with 4 Kralgath warriors. The maintenance elevator shuddered as it descended through orbital station Tannhauser, and Lloyd pressed himself against the corner, trying to make his 6-foot frame as small as possible. The Kralgath stood like statues carved from obsidian, 8 feet of corded muscle, chitinous armor plates, and mandibles that clicked whenever they'd breathe. Their reputation preceded them, conquerors of 17 star systems, undefeated in ground combat for 3 centuries, and deeply suspicious of any species that didn't settle disputes through ritual combat. Lloyd clutched his toolbox tighter. He'd been called to fix a pressure valve on level 42, just another day of keeping the station's guts functioning. The Kralgath delegation was supposed to be 3 decks away in the diplomatic quarter, but here they were, all 4 of them radiating barely contained aggression. The largest one, its armor decorated with what Lloyd desperately hoped were decorative notches and not kill counts, turned its triangular head toward him. Its 6 eyes, arranged in 2 vertical rows, fixed on Lloyd with the intensity of targeting lasers. "Human," it rumbled in heavily accented standard. "You operate the platform machines?" Lloyd's mouth went dry. Yes. I'm maintenance. I am War Prime Kalrith of the 19th Phalanx." The Kralgath gestured with one of its 4 arms at the others. "These are my bloodsworn. We journey to observe your species' combat training facilities." "Cool," Lloyd nodded too many times. "We've got a gym on level 38. I hear the kickboxing class is pretty popular." The Kralgath made a sound like grinding gravel. Lloyd realized with mounting horror that it might be laughing. "Your species engages in mock battle for recreation." Kalrith's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. "The Kralgath believe—" The elevator cable snapped. Lloyd's stomach lurched into his throat as the car plummeted. Lights flickered. Metal shrieked against metal. The emergency brakes engaged with a tortured scream, but they were failing, the smell of burning metal flooding the car. Through the small window in the door, Lloyd watched the floors blur past. His heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape. His vision tunneled. Every nerve in his body ignited with primal terror. The hindbrain that had kept his ancestors alive on the African savanna seized control, dumping every chemical cocktail evolution had designed for one purpose: survive. The world slowed down. Lloyd's pupils widened until his eyes looked black. Blood rushed to his muscles, flushing his skin red. His hands began to shake, then his arms, then his entire body as his muscles fired in rapid succession. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His breathing became sharp, rapid gasps. Through the haze of pure panic, he registered the Kralgath backing away from him. "The human," one whispered in their clicking language. "It transforms." "The skin change," another hissed. "The eyes of the abyss," Kalrith's mandibles spread wide. "By the ancestors, it enters the battle ascendants." The elevator jerked, dropped another 3 meters, and slammed to a halt between floors. Lloyd didn't think. His body moved on autopilot, driven by the singular need to get out. He dropped his toolbox and lunged at the doors. The blast doors were designed to withstand explosive decompression. Each door weighed 200 kilograms and was magnetically sealed. Lloyd grabbed the seam where they met and pulled. His muscles screamed. His tendons strained. Somewhere in the back of his mind, the rational part that understood physics and engineering limitations tried to tell him this was impossible. The rest of his brain, soaked in adrenaline and cortisol, didn't care about impossible. The doors groaned. "Impossible," one of the Kralgath said. Lloyd's fingers found purchase. The magnetic seals protested with sharp cracks. His arms trembled with the strain, veins standing out like cables under his skin. He thought about being crushed. He thought about the cable giving way completely. He thought about the time he'd gotten stuck in a septic tank on New Perth and had clawed his way out through 6 inches of waste and determination. The doors moved, first a centimeter, then 5, then 10. Lloyd's vision grayed at the edges, but he kept pulling, muscles burning, bones creaking. Something that might have been a rational thought screaming that he was going to tear his arms out of their sockets. The doors flew open. Lloyd collapsed forward onto the deck plating of level 35, gasping like a landed fish. His entire body shook uncontrollably, his hands cramped into claws. Black spots danced across his vision. Behind him, the Kralgath stood in absolute silence. Kalrith was the first to move. The War Prime stepped through the opening Lloyd had created and dropped to one knee, its head lowered until its mandibles nearly touched the floor. "Forgive us, Ascended One. We did not recognize your true nature." Lloyd rolled onto his back, his chest heaving. "What?" The other three Kralgath filed out and immediately knelt. One of them was making a high-pitched keening sound. "You honor us with your presence," Kalrith continued. "To witness the Kreshna, the transformation, it is a privilege given to few." "I don't." Lloyd's hands were still shaking. "I just wanted out of the death box." "He speaks in riddles," one of the others whispered. "Testing us." Kalrith rose but kept its head lowered. "Your display of might, the rending of the sealed portal with only your flesh hands. The Kralgath have legends of such beings. Warriors who transcend the limits of mortality when death approaches. We thought them myths." Lloyd managed to sit up. His shirt was soaked through with sweat and he could smell his own fear. "Look, I really don't know what you're talking about." The elevator broke. "I panicked." Kalrith repeated the word like it was sacred text. "The pre-ascension state, the gathering of power before the transformation." "No, I mean I was terrified. I thought we were going to die." The four Kralgath exchanged looks. One spoke in rapid clicks to Kalrith, who responded in kind. Lloyd caught enough of the words to make out modest and testing. "You were afraid of death," Kalrith said carefully, "and so you became stronger than death itself. This is the paradox the ancient texts describe. Fear as the gateway to transcendence." Lloyd wanted to explain about adrenaline, about the fight or flight response, about how any human could perform feats of strength under the right circumstances. But his brain was still scrambled, his body was crashing from the chemical high, and he really needed to pee. "I need to find a bathroom," he said. Kalrith nodded gravely. "The ritual purification, we shall guard you during this sacred time." "That's not." Lloyd stood on shaky legs. "You know what? Sure." He staggered down the corridor with four Kralgath warriors following 3 paces behind in perfect formation. A passing technician, a Centaurian with blue-green skin, took one look at the procession and flattened herself against the wall. The bathroom was mercifully empty. Lloyd practically fell through the door, but when he turned to close it, Kalrith's arm shot out, holding it open. "We must maintain observation, Ascended One. Protection during vulnerability is the first oath of the Bloodsworn." "You are not watching me pee." Lloyd put his still trembling hand on the door and pushed. For a moment, the War Prime resisted. Then slowly it withdrew its arm. "As you command, we shall guard the entrance." The door closed. Lloyd sagged against the sink, staring at his reflection. His eyes were still wide, his skin flushed and blotchy. He looked like he'd run a marathon while having a panic attack, which wasn't far from the truth. He splashed cold water on his face and tried to collect his thoughts. The Kralgath thought he was some kind of warrior god. They'd seen him break open the elevator doors, which, now that the adrenaline was fading, seemed absolutely insane. His hands ached, and when he examined them, he found deep bruises forming along his palms and fingers. He'd actually done that. His brain hadn't just imagined it. The evidence was literally written on his skin. Someone knocked on the door. "Ascended One. Are you performing the cleansing ritual?" "Give me a minute." Lloyd finished his business, washed his hands, and seriously considered climbing out through the ventilation shaft. But the grate was too small, and besides, where would he go? The station wasn't that big. The Kralgath would find him eventually. He opened the door. All 4 warriors snapped to attention. "I'm going back to work now," Lloyd said. "I have a pressure valve to fix on level 42. "We shall accompany you," Kalrith declared, "to observe the Ascended One in his domain." The descent to level 42 was nightmarish. Lloyd took the stairs because he'd rather die than get in another elevator, and the Kralgath followed him in silent formation. Every station resident they passed stopped and stared. A human being escorted by Kralgath warriors wasn't just unusual, it was unprecedented. The warrior race didn't escort people, they conquered them. Word spread fast. By the time Lloyd reached the maintenance bay, a small crowd had gathered. Station security stood at a careful distance, hands near their weapons but clearly unwilling to intervene. Lloyd found the malfunctioning pressure valve right where the work order said it would be. A massive pipe junction that regulated atmosphere flow between sections. He set down his toolbox, pulled out his diagnostic scanner, and tried to ignore the 4 pairs of Kralgath eyes watching his every move. "What is the nature of your task?" Kalrith asked. "The valve isn't seating properly, probably a worn gasket. I need to replace it before the pressure differential causes a blowout." Lloyd paused. Which would be bad. You maintain the station's life systems. Yep. Lloyd opened the access panel and peered inside. Sure enough, the gasket was cracked. See this rubber seal here? It's supposed to create an airtight barrier, but it's degraded. I'll swap it out, recalibrate the pressure sensor, and everything will be fine. The Kralgath leaned in closer. Lloyd could feel their hot breath on his neck. The Ascended One performs menial labor, one observed. It is a test of humility, another suggested. To walk among the lesser tasks strengthens the warrior spirit. Kalrith clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. Or perhaps to the Ascended One, no task is menial. All labor serves the survival of the collective. Even the repair of a small seal maintains the integrity of thousands of lives. Lloyd blinked. That was actually kind of profound. Yeah, something like that. He removed the old gasket and fished a replacement from his toolbox. The work was soothing, familiar. His hands had stopped shaking, and the post-adrenaline crash was giving way to bone-deep exhaustion. He just wanted to finish the job and go home to his tiny quarters for about 16 hours of sleep. The new gasket slid into place. Lloyd tightened the housing, ran a pressure test, and nodded when the readings came back green. Done. Magnificent, Kalrith breathed. It's just a gasket. You identified the weakness, excised the failed component, and restored function. In Kralgath philosophy, this is the essence of warfare. Remove weakness, ensure survival, protect the whole. Lloyd closed the access panel. If you say so. Station Administrator Keiko Yamada chose that moment to arrive, flanked by her own security detail. She was a short woman with iron-gray hair and the expression of someone who dealt with too many interstellar incidents today. Mr. Anderson, she said with forced calm, can you explain why the Kralgath delegation has been following you for the past 2 hours? Lloyd gestured helplessly at the warriors. They think I'm some kind of god. Ascended One, Kalrith corrected, a being who has achieved the Krishna and transcended normal limits of mortality. Yamada's eye twitched. And why do they think this? The elevator cable snapped. I had a panic attack and ripped the doors open. They saw it and got the wrong idea. The correct idea, Kalrith said firmly. We witnessed the transformation, the physical changes, the eye dilation, the skin alteration, the vibration of impending violence, then the display of impossible strength. These are the signs described in our most sacred texts. Yamada pinched the bridge of her nose. War Prime Kalrith, with respect, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Humans have a physiological response to extreme stress called an adrenaline rush. It's a temporary increase in strength and pain tolerance. It's not supernatural. All Kralgath know of combat stimulants, Kalrith replied. What we witnessed was beyond such simple biology. The Ascended One moved metal that requires powered machinery to breach. His body achieved a state of martial perfection. I really didn't, Lloyd protested. I was just scared. The modesty of the truly powerful. We understand. You wish to walk among the common beings without ceremony. We shall respect this. But we cannot abandon you, Ascended One. Our honor demands we serve. Yamada looked at Lloyd. Lloyd looked at Yamada. Can you finish your shift with 4 Kralgath following you around? Do I have a choice? Not really. Lloyd picked up his toolbox. Then I guess they're coming with me. The rest of the day was surreal. Lloyd fixed a leaking water recycler on level 28, while the Kralgath provided running commentary on how water, like blood, must flow for life to continue. He recalibrated an oxygen scrubber on level 15, as Kalrith explained to the others how the Ascended One purified even the air with his sacred tools. He unclogged a toilet on level 8 and decided not to ask for the Kralgath's philosophical interpretation of that particular task. By hour 6, Lloyd was developing a strange sort of rhythm with his escorts. They learned to hand him tools before he asked. They cleared space around work sites without being told. They even started anticipating which direction he'd walk next. So, Lloyd said while elbow-deep in a circuit breaker panel, this Krishna thing. What exactly is it supposed to be? Kalrith settled into a crouch beside him. The ancient texts speak of a state of being achieved by the greatest Kralgath warriors. In moments of ultimate danger, the body transcends its limitations. Time slows, strength multiplies, pain becomes irrelevant. It is our species' highest aspiration, but only 1 in 10,000 ever achieves it. And you think humans can just do this whenever? The texts also speak of other species who possess this gift. We thought them legends. The Kralgath have conquered 17 systems, fought countless battles, but never witnessed the Krishna in another species. Kalrith's mandibles clicked softly. Until today, until you. Lloyd pulled a fried circuit board from the panel. What if I told you that pretty much any human could do what I did? Then humanity would be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We're really not. We're plumbers and accountants and teachers. We're not all warriors. Perhaps, Kalrith said slowly, that is what makes you most dangerous. Warriors train for battle, warriors expect combat. But you perform menial tasks until the moment requires otherwise. Then you transform, the perfect ambush predator hiding in plain sight. Lloyd hadn't thought about it like that. He wasn't sure he liked thinking about it like that. He finished the repair and moved on to the next work order. The Kralgath followed, always 3 paces behind, always watching, always ready. By the time Lloyd's shift ended, his legs felt like concrete and his eyelids kept trying to close on their own. He trudged toward the residential section with his loyal honor guard in tow. Other residents gave them a wide berth, whispered conversations stopping as they passed. Lloyd reached his quarters and turned to face the Kralgath. "Okay, I'm going to sleep now. You guys can't come in. We must maintain our vigil," Kalrith said. "You can maintain it from out here. I'm not sleeping with 4 aliens staring at me. But the Ascended One is vulnerable during rest. We must—" "Out here, that's an order or a request. Or whatever you need it to be," Kalrith straightened. "As you command, we shall guard your threshold." Lloyd's door slid shut. He made it 3 steps before collapsing face first onto his bunk without even removing his boots. Sleep hit him like a freight train. He dreamed about elevators, about falling, about doors that wouldn't open and cables that snapped like threads. But in the dreams, he wasn't alone. The Kralgath were there, watching with their six-eyed stares, waiting for him to transform into something he wasn't. When Lloyd woke 8 hours later, he found a pile of gifts outside his door. Kralgath battle tokens, small carved pieces of their own shed armor plates, each one marked with intricate patterns. A note in standard written in Kalrith's careful hand, "From those who witnessed the ascension." Lloyd picked up one of the tokens. It was warm to the touch, polished smooth. He could feel the weight of expectation in it. The Kralgath were waiting at the end of the corridor, all 4 of them standing at attention. "Morning," Lloyd said. "Ascended One?" They spoke in unison. Lloyd went to the mess hall for breakfast. The Kralgath followed. He ordered coffee and a protein bar. The Kralgath stood guard while he ate. Other residents stared. Some took pictures. Lloyd pretended not to notice. Yamada found him halfway through his coffee. "We have a situation. Bigger than the one where I'm being worshipped by alien warriors. Actually related to it." Yamada sat down across from him. The Kralgath High Command received Kalrith's report. They're sending more delegations. They want to observe humanity, study our ascension potential. They're talking about a cultural exchange program. Lloyd set down his coffee. "You're kidding." "I wish I was." The Galactic Council is in an uproar. The Kralgath have never been interested in cultural exchange. They've been interested in conquest. This is unprecedented. So what do we do? You, Yamada smiled grimly, you become a very strange kind of ambassador. The Council wants you to give a demonstration. Of what? Having a panic attack. Of human stress response capabilities. Show them that what you did isn't unique. Prove that all humans have this potential. Lloyd looked at his hands. The bruises from yesterday had deepened to dark purple. And if I can't, if it was just adrenaline and luck, then we figure something else out. But Lloyd, Yamada leaned forward. Maybe there's something to what they're saying. Maybe humans are a little bit terrifying when we need to be. And maybe that's okay. The demonstration was scheduled for the station's main cargo bay, converted into a makeshift arena. Lloyd stood in the center, surrounded by diagnostic equipment, medical monitors, and about 50 Kralgath warriors who'd arrived on the morning transport. The entire Galactic Council observed via holographic feed. Administrator Yamada stood at a podium. Today we'll demonstrate the human stress response, commonly known as the fight or flight reflex. This is not supernatural or unique to Mr. Anderson. It's a biological function shared by all humans. The attending physician, Dr. Susan Park, gestured to the monitors. We've got Lloyd's baseline readings here. Normal heart rate, normal blood pressure, normal everything. What you're about to see is what happens when we trigger his stress response. Lloyd swallowed hard. And how are we triggering it? A section of the floor dropped away, revealing a 10-meter pit. Not deep enough to kill, but deep enough to hurt. You've got to be kidding me, Lloyd said. You won't fall, Park assured him. You're wearing a safety harness, but your brain doesn't know that. Step to the edge. Lloyd's legs felt like rubber as he approached the pit. The drop yawned below him, dark and deep. His heart rate spiked immediately, the monitors chirping warnings. Heart rate increasing, Park narrated. 120, 140, 160. Lloyd's vision started to tunnel. His hands began to shake. The edges of the pit seemed to waver. Pupil dilation detected, Park continued. Skin flushing, muscle tremors beginning. He's entering the stress response. Calrith leaned forward, mandibles spread. The transformation begins. They'd placed a sealed cargo container at the edge of the pit, not magnetically locked like the elevator doors, but secured with mechanical latches designed to hold half a ton of supplies. Park pointed to it. Lloyd, we need you to open that container. It's not locked, just latched, but you'll need to apply significant force. Lloyd reached for the latches with trembling hands. The first one resisted. He pulled harder. His muscles burned. The latch gave way with a sharp crack. The second latch fought him. Lloyd's vision grayed. He could feel his body dumping chemicals into his bloodstream, preparing him to fight or flee. The latch groaned. Metal bent. It snapped open. The lid should have required 2 people to lift. Lloyd heaved it up one-handed and let it crash to the floor. The cargo bay erupted in clicking sounds, the Kralgath expression of approval. There, Yamada said to the council observers. You've witnessed a standard human stress response, nothing supernatural, just biology. A Kralgath voice came from the crowd. If this is standard, then every human is a dormant warrior. Every human contains this potential for transformation. In theory, yes, Park admitted, though the degree varies by individual, and it's not something we can control consciously. Another Kralgath stood. Then humanity should be reclassified, not as a civilian species, but as a warrior race in hibernation. The holographic council members erupted into argument. Representatives from a dozen species shouted over each other in as many languages. Lloyd stumbled back from the pit edge, his body crashing as the adrenaline faded. Calrith approached him. You have shown great courage, Ascended One, to enter the transformed state willingly for the purpose of teaching. This is wisdom beyond measure. I just opened a box, Lloyd muttered. You demonstrated that humanity's strength lies not in constant aggression, but in measured response. You are dangerous only when you must be. This is the mark of true warriors, restraint until the moment demands otherwise. The argument continued around them. The Galactic Council couldn't agree on how to classify humanity. The Kralgath insisted on warrior status. The civilian species protested. Someone suggested a new category entirely. Lloyd sat down heavily on the cargo container he'd just opened. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Park appeared with a glucose drink and an emergency blanket. You did good, she said quietly. Scared the hell out of me, but you did good. They're going to keep following me, aren't they? Probably. You're proof of their legends. That's not something they'll forget easily. Calrith and the 3 blood-sworn warriors stood nearby, waiting, always waiting. Lloyd could see other Kralgath watching him with the same reverent expression. He'd become something he never asked to be, a symbol, an icon, a walking legend. The council session ended without resolution. They'd need weeks, maybe months, to hash out the political implications. In the meantime, Lloyd had work orders to fill and a station to maintain. He stood, wobbling slightly. I'm going back to work. We accompany you, Calrith said, as if there was never any doubt. Lloyd grabbed his toolbox and headed for the cargo bay exit. The 4 Kralgath fell into formation behind him, then 6 more joined them, then another 8. By the time Lloyd reached the corridor, he was leading a procession of 18 Kralgath warriors, all walking 3 paces back, all watching him with reverent 6-eyed stares. Someone had called ahead. When Lloyd arrived at his next work site, a malfunctioning air handler on level 19, a small crowd had gathered. Humans, mostly, come to see the maintenance worker who'd accidentally started an interstellar incident. Lloyd ignored them and got to work. The air handler needed a new motor mount, nothing complicated. He disconnected the power, removed the damaged mount, and installed the replacement. Routine, simple, done in 20 minutes. But the Kralgath watched every move like he was performing surgery on the station itself. And maybe, in a way, he was. Every repair kept people alive. Every fixed valve, every replaced gasket, every rewired circuit board maintained the fragile bubble of atmosphere and warmth that separated the living from the void. When Lloyd finished and powered the system back up, the air handler hummed to life. Cool air flooded through the vents. The crowd applauded. The Kralgath clicked their mandibles in approval. Calrith stepped forward, The Ascended One has once again demonstrated his mastery over the station's vital systems. We have witnessed. I'm not ascended, Lloyd interrupted. I'm just a guy doing his job. You want to follow me around, fine, but stop calling me that. Calrith's mandibles twitched. What should we call you? Lloyd, my name is Lloyd Anderson. I'm a maintenance technician, 3rd class. I fix things. That's all I do. To fix what is broken is to restore what was lost, Calrith said. To maintain what protects life is to stand against entropy itself. The Kralgeth have warriors who conquer, but you, Lloyd Anderson, you preserve. Perhaps that is a higher calling. Lloyd picked up his toolbox. He was too tired to argue philosophy with an 8-foot alien warrior. Whatever helps you sleep at night. The weeks that followed established a strange new normal. Lloyd continued his work while the Kralgeth observed. They learned the station's systems by watching him repair them. They began to understand human infrastructure, human vulnerabilities, human resilience. Other Kralgeth delegations arrived. They requested tour of Earth cities, human shipyards, maintenance facilities. They wanted to understand the species that could transform in moments of crisis. The species that hid warriors inside civilians. The Galactic Council eventually created a new classification for humanity. Conditional warrior status. It meant humans were considered civilians under normal circumstances, but possessed inherent combat capabilities that emerged under stress. It satisfied no one and annoyed everyone, which made it perfect bureaucratic compromise. Lloyd kept working. He fixed pipes and wires and filters and pumps. The Kralgeth kept watching. And slowly something unexpected happened. The Kralgeth started learning to fix things themselves. It began small. A young warrior named Torval asked to hold Lloyd's tools. Then Torval asked what each tool did. Then Torval asked if it could try replacing a simple fuse under Lloyd's supervision. Calrith explained it one evening as Lloyd finished his shift. We have always been destroyers. We conquer, we dominate, we break what resists us. But you have shown us another path, to build, to repair, to maintain. These are skills worthy of study. You're going to become maintenance workers? Lloyd couldn't quite believe it. We will become complete warriors, those who can destroy and those who can create. You have taught us that true strength includes both. 3 months after the elevator incident, Lloyd was eating lunch in the mess hall when Torval approached, carrying a datapad. Lloyd Anderson, I seek your judgment on my work. Lloyd took the datapad. It showed a detailed repair schematic for a plasma coupling, annotated with safety protocols and efficiency improvements. The work was thorough, professional, and correct. This is good, Lloyd said. Really good. Where'd you learn this? From watching you, from studying your methods. From understanding that violence is not the only form of strength. Lloyd handed back the datapad. You're going to put me out of a job. Torval's mandibles spread in what Lloyd had learned was a smile. Never. You are the Ascended One who showed us the path. We merely walk it. I'm really not. Lloyd stopped. He'd been having this argument for months. It never went anywhere. You know what? Fine, I'm Ascended, sure. Whatever makes you happy. You honor us with your acceptance. Lloyd finished his sandwich. Calrith and the original Bloodsworn still followed him everywhere. But now they were accompanied by younger Kralgeth who asked questions about pressure differentials and circuit loads. The warrior race was becoming engineers, mechanics, and technicians. The Galactic Council was baffled. Humanity was terrified they'd somehow militarized the Kralgeth's industrial capacity. But Lloyd just kept fixing things, one repair at a time, with his unlikely students following along. Station Administrator Yamada called him into her office 6 months after the incident. So, she said, leaning back in her chair. How does it feel to have accidentally started a cultural revolution? Lloyd shrugged. I just wanted out of a broken elevator. Well, because of that, the Kralgeth are establishing their first non-military academy. They want to study infrastructure, engineering, and maintenance. They've asked Earth to provide instructors. Yamada smiled. They've specifically requested you. Me, I'm not a teacher. You taught Torval, you taught Calrith. You've taught 50 Kralgeth warriors how to fix things instead of break them. Sounds like teaching to me. Lloyd thought about it. About the strange path his life had taken. About the elevator that had changed everything. About the moment of blind panic that had somehow become legend. Can I still do maintenance work? He asked. They're insisting on it. They want their students to learn by doing, by observing, by working alongside humans in real situations. Then I guess I'm a teacher. 1 year after the elevator incident, Lloyd Anderson stood in a classroom on New Andromeda Station. surrounded by 30 Kralgath students eager to learn about oxygen recycling systems. Kalrith stood at the back of the room, watching with quiet pride. The four blood-sworn warriors had become Lloyd's teaching assistants, helping demonstrate techniques and answer questions. Lloyd activated the holographic display. Okay, today we're going to talk about filter maintenance. It's not glamorous, but if these filters fail, everyone on the station dies. So pay attention. The Kralgath leaned forward, mandibles clicking with interest. They took notes on datapads. They asked questions about failure rates and backup systems. They treated the lesson with the same seriousness they once reserved for weapons training. After class, as Lloyd packed up his materials, a young Kralgath approached. "Teacher Lloyd, may I ask a personal question?" "Sure." "The elevator, the moment of your ascension, were you truly afraid?" Lloyd remembered the sensation, the cables snapping, the fall. The primal terror that had seized his body and rewired his brain into something capable of the impossible. "Yeah," he said quietly, "I was terrified. But you acted anyway. You transformed fear into strength. That is the lesson, yes." Lloyd looked at the student at Kalrith, at the blood-sworn warriors who'd followed him for a year, at the Kralgath who'd learned to see maintenance as a form of warfare against entropy itself. "Yeah," he said, "I guess that is the lesson. We're all scared sometimes. But we do what needs doing anyway." The student lowered its head. "Thank you, teacher. I understand now." Lloyd walked back to his quarters that evening with his honor guard trailing behind. The station hummed around them, all its systems functioning, all its residents safe. He'd fixed the pressure valve that morning. Tomorrow he'd teach a class on electrical systems. Next week he'd supervise his students as they performed their first unsupervised repairs. His life had become strange and unexpected, but in a weird way it made sense. He was still fixing things. He was still keeping people alive. He just gained an audience who treated every repair like a sacred ritual. Lloyd reached his quarters and turned to Kalrith. "You know, one of these days you're going to get tired of following me around." "Never," Kalrith said firmly. "We witnessed your transformation. We witnessed the moment a civilian became a warrior. That memory is eternal. I'm still just a maintenance worker. You are Lloyd Anderson, who taught the Kralgath that strength has many forms, who showed us that preservation is as worthy as conquest, who transformed not just yourself, but an entire species' understanding of power." Kalrith's mandibles clicked softly. "You are exactly what you claim to be, a maintenance worker. And that is what makes you extraordinary." Lloyd nodded slowly. He'd stopped fighting the label. The Kralgath needed their ascended one, their symbol of transformation. And if playing that role meant teaching them to build instead of destroy, to maintain instead of conquer, then maybe it was worth the weight of expectation. "Same time tomorrow?" Lloyd asked. "Always," Kalrith replied. Lloyd entered his quarters and closed the door. Through the wall, he could hear the Kralgath settling into their vigil position. They'd stand guard all night, as they had every night for a year, protecting the human who'd accidentally shown them a different kind of strength. Lloyd collapsed onto his bunk and smiled. He'd survived 3 stints on frontier colonies, 2 divorces, questionable station sushi, and a plummeting elevator car. He'd accidentally become a legend, a teacher, and an ambassador for an entire species. And tomorrow, he had a clogged filtration system to fix on level 23. Some things never changed. And somehow, that was exactly how Lloyd Anderson liked it.